What is up, everybody? It is finally another live Hoops Crush. I'm here with Eric as always, and there is quite a bit to talk about today. We're getting really close to the NBA draft. Of course, Game 6 is literally tomorrow, so we'll see how that ends up turning out. Right before we started going live, Ace Bailey apparently just canceled work out the 76ers. So there's just a lot to talk about today. Eric, before we get into all that, how are you doing?
I'm good, Brady. Happy belated Father's Day to you.
You as well.
Hope you had a good one. Thank you. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there in Chatland. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, it's 1 week till the draft. This is when the offseason really picks up here. The next 2 weeks between free agency starting June 30th and then that lasts a few days and the draft a week before that. So yeah, exciting times. We're about to find out a lot of what's about to transpire, how the what Shams has described as like going to be a crazy offseason and stuff. So we're about to start seeing some of those dominoes fall into place. I think we all assumed that the first domino would be a KD trade, as it seemed pretty close over the past week or so. But it ended up being a Desmond Bane trade instead.
Yeah, pretty wild. So I know obviously you and Tori already talked about the trade on Monday, but I guess I can go ahead and give my 2 cents. So it was a little shocking, obviously. I don't think anyone really expected Desmond Bane to be available, but at the end of the day, when you look at the trade for both sides, it makes sense on why both teams did it. Obviously, Memphis, if you get that kind of offer for a guy like Desmond Bane, I think you have to jump on it. Even though obviously it doesn't like fit what they might be doing as far as trying to compete. But we'll see what they do next if that goes to a different solution or not. But yeah, if you get 4 first-round picks plus a pick swap and then you get salary filler, I think you have to do that because obviously 4 picks is, sometimes what you trade to get a superstar. Desmond Bane is a great player, don't get me wrong. We're all aware of that. But I think we can all kind of agree that the Magic may have overpaid maybe a little bit. But if you really kind of like dissect the picks, maybe it's not as bad as it looks. But of course, Orlando, they get a perfect guy that fits exactly what they've needed, and Bane fits exactly in immediately. Now they're gonna get very expensive as soon as Paulo gets paid, so that'll be interesting to see how they balance that. But at the end of the day, it was a shocking trade, and I like it for both sides. I do like it for Memphis, maybe just a tad bit more, because I don't know if Desmond Bane is the difference between Orlando being a contender or not, but that remains to be seen. Obviously, the East is going to be wide open next year, so maybe they feel like Desmond Bane is exactly what they needed. I agree he's a great fit, but we'll see how it turns out for them.
So Brady, you for those, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows by now, but on his channel, Crushables, right here on YouTube, he does rebuilds, stuff like that. I'm sure you've thought extensively, as you do of most teams, but the Magic in particular, the GM comes out, says they made a mistake by not adding shot creation, and that needs to be addressed this offseason. And so I'm sure you went through multiple different players. Anthony Simons probably came up. Darius Garland's probably come up a lot in your mind. Kobe White, those kind of players. Did you ever think about Desmond Bane to
No,
the Magic prior to this? And my
not at
question is
all.
was it just because you didn't think Desmond Bane was available, or did we just overlook the fact that he was a really good fit for that
No, I mean
team?
at the end of the day, I didn't think he'd be available. I don't. It's not a guy that I immediately thought would be available. Like I knew Memphis could be on the verge of maybe shaking things up this offseason, but I guess it just didn't. We weren't 100% sure if that would be the case or not, because like they could have just ran it back and hoped for something different to happen. But yeah, I never thought about Desmond Bane to Orlando. It does make a lot of sense, but yeah, I always went through like the Trey Youngs of the world, the Melo Balls
Right.
of the
Yeah.
world, or just any kind of point guard that seems like they could maybe be available. I never ever thought about Desmond Bane, which is why the NBA it's so beautiful when it comes to trades because you just things can just happen that you never would expect, which is why it makes it so fun. But no, never thought about Desmond Bane being someone that the Magic could acquire. Honestly,
right? If you would have told me that if you just told me what the Magic gave up to the or to the Grizzlies, I would have thought for sure they traded for Ja.
Right.
So that when I saw Bane, I was like, "What?" And then you got 4 picks and a swap. Like, I know one of the picks is probably for taking on KCP's contract and all that. And I know since he probably wasn't necessarily available, like you probably had to offer a lot more than you were comfortable offering to get Memphis to be like, "Okay, we have to accept that," because people always say this to us, like, well, would you have accepted that trade for Denny Avdia or something, And
Right.
it's like, well, if someone calls asking for him, you basically say he's not available, and then they give you an offer, and it's like, no, we're good, thanks. But then if they keep on upping the offer, like eventually there is a price where pretty much anyone becomes tradable. So I'm guessing that's what happened here. The Magic just refused to do anything, because if you think about it, I mean, could they not have gotten like a Darius Garland or something for that same package? Like, that's a lot of picks that the Cavs could have done something, turned around, maybe made a 3-team trade and got someone else that fits that roster too. So it's kind of weird that Bane was their guy, but it does make sense thinking about it. He's a great shooter, can shoot both off the dribble, spot up, has shown the ability to create a little bit and run the offense when Ja's been hurt or suspended. And so I don't like any team that hasn't shown the jump yet to give up that much. It's kind of similar to what the Knicks did for McHale. It's like they're still not a championship level team, so like, was it worth giving up your entire future for? But at the same time, I have to applaud Orlando for identifying their biggest need and just going out there and getting it and getting the player that best fits what they think they need. And if everything goes right for them, those picks might not be that good anyway. So you might not have given up a ton when you look back on this trade in like 10 years. So I like the fact that a small market team went for it. But I also, if I'm like a Memphis fan, I'm not that sad about trading. It's not like a Luka situation where you feel like you didn't get enough for him or something. I think you're fine with getting a bunch of picks and assets for Bane as well.
Yeah, they definitely probably could have acquired someone definitely for a little bit cheaper, but they definitely clearly love Desmond Bane, and they gave up enough to acquire him. And I know another thing people have pointed out is that Desmond Bane is not a total non-defender either, so that shouldn't hurt them in that department, even though people have made the argument that they could have hid pretty much anybody, whether it was like, Trey or Anthony or Garland, whoever it may be. They could have hid them because of how good their defense is. But with Desmond Bane, that won't necessarily be an issue. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to make their team a lot more fun. And I think Orlando Magic fans should be super excited, because obviously that franchise, since the Dwight Howard days, has been rebuilding, and it's just always led to basically, you had your Nikola Vucevic and Evan Fournier rosters and Aaron Gordon that would get like the 7th or 8th seed sometimes, but no one ever really took them serious. They may have stolen a game 1 from like Toronto one time or something like that. But this feels like a roster that you could actually be excited about maybe being able to contend, and that's what they're going for. So yeah, like you said, you do have to applaud them for that. And I'm very excited for Orlando fans to feel that, because I'm sure that's something they've been missing for a long time. So can't wait to see what they can do out east.
It's kind of it for them, though. Like they don't
basically
really have many assets now to do a follow-up trade. They can sign minimums, but like you mentioned earlier, that roster is going to get really expensive. So that is one thing to watch as we move into the future past this season. Is okay, they went for it, but how comfortable are they paying for a team that is going for it? Because a lot of small market teams aren't. There was another small trade the other day with the Pacers and Pelicans, in which the Pacers traded the 23rd pick just to save a couple million this year. And it also freed up. They actually are outside of this draft now retained all their future picks. So they might be lining up to make a big move or something, one huge move to put them over the top. And they're a little closer to what Orlando's been to winning a championship, so it might make sense for them to make that move. But yeah, it's going to be very intriguing how they operate around those aprons and stuff, being a team that in the past has not been willing to pay what it takes to go into the tax and go be like a first or second apron team.
That's why I can't wait to see if other East teams start to make like crazy trades like the Magic just did, because they all think the East is wide open, right? So will we see more crazy moves out East where, there's just so many rumors floating around. I don't even really know where to start, but we can transition into pretty much anything, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like I saw a weird rumor, and I don't even know if this was, it may have been Centel that posted this, but that the 76ers and the Jazz were discussing like trading Paul George for three to send him to Utah for 5 or whatever. Just to, like, that's a crazy idea to think about, but that would be interesting. And then, right, like I said, I wanted to talk about this too, where Ace Bailey, which I thought I kind of knew what was going on, but I didn't. You kind of just told me right before this how crazy it actually has been. That, right before we went live, he canceled his workout with the 76ers, which is interesting because that was always a place where everyone thought he would be drafted. Well, maybe a lot of people anyway. And you informed me that he hasn't worked out for anybody, which I'm quite surprised by. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't get this at all. To me, there's 2 lines of thinking, and I'm sure the first is what Ace and his agent are thinking, and that's like, oh, we just want to be mysterious and be that guy that generates buzz because no one knows, because outside the top 2, I think you can make a case that Ace should go, sometime in the few picks after that. So I don't think it's like that drastic. But the second part of that is like, why are you hiding? Like, why are you not? Are you terrible in workouts? Are you terrible in interviews? Like, do you not want to get your client in front of these teams and have them be scared of him not being able to work out well or something, or just the way he talks about his game, his IQ, stuff like that. That's really scary for me if I'm a GM, that he seemingly, had some issues with not as like a bad person, like his agent said today, but like, just seems a little immature at times, and to not kind of squash that at all by like getting out in front of it, by making those rumors seem like they're true. It just seems like a weird approach to me. And then there was also a rumor today that there was a person in the lottery that is refusing to work out for Charlotte specifically because LaMelo Ball, they don't want to play with LaMelo Ball. So that's funny. Like, who knows if that's true or not, but like, I mean, it could be Ace, could be that person too, but I guess it wouldn't make sense specifically for Charlotte because, to me, that might make more sense to be one of the guards like VJ or I don't know. I don't follow Charlotte that closely, so I don't know who's actually worked out for them. Maybe there's a process of elimination we could make there. But yeah, man, this Ace situation, I mean, could he start slipping into the second part of the lottery? That would have been crazy to think of just a few months ago, but I could definitely see some teams passing on him, just not wanting to deal with that situation.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's weird. I mean, yeah, if he does fall, it'd be pretty interesting because I just know I've heard his name for like so long to where how good of a prospect he was, but he's just raising all these red flags right before the draft. And I'm not sure if he like. I guess Elizabeth Allen said Keith Smith maybe says something about maybe a promise. So like, does he have a promise already, or is it
Well,
something like that? I don't know.
two things there. Okay, why would you be like, okay, Nola promised me that I'm good, right? Like, of all teams, like that's the team. Like, you don't want to go to like Philadelphia, who's maybe you could go on like some deep runs early in your career and learn behind some really, you know, good players from the past. And then when those players are ready to move on, you still got the young guards and Maxie McCain there with you, and I don't know, man. It's just or like San Antonio. I mean, I know he's probably not going to, but why wouldn't you be trying everything possible to show them what a player you are to possibly be in the conversation at two? It just seems weird that you're going to accept a promise from a team that's not even in the top five right now. And if you're New Orleans, it might have worked out for you if that's your guy, because there's a very strong possibility he's still on the board for them, and they don't even have to move up now at
It's
7.
true.
I don't get why you'd want. I mean, I could see not wanting to go to Utah if he's the guy who doesn't want to go to Charlotte either. I guess New Orleans, but to me, it's just like I don't know why. Like Washington sitting there at 6. I don't know, man.
He's just kind of already setting a bad precedent already. It
Mm-hmm.
just seems like he's a high maintenance guy, and he's already just drawing. I don't know. It's weird. It's just so weird. I don't get it. We'll see what it ends up meaning on draft night, but
Is it
uh,
in the NFL? Wasn't there? It started with Marvin Harrison Jr. right 2 years ago, and then this year I think there were several, including Travis Hunter and stuff. Who didn't they just like not even do anything at the combine? Didn't work
yeah.
out for teams or anything, and I guess that's like becoming a thing now for some people. I don't get it. It just to me I want guys who are like, oh, get me in a room, I'll show you
Yeah,
how smart I
exactly.
am. Get me on the court, I'll show you what I can do, and I'll show you what a mistake it would be passing on me instead of, oh, I don't want to risk missing some shots or something and looking bad or not being able to answer a question right or something. I really I'd much rather go for the I don't know who to describe, like the Tamani Kamaras. Much rather roll with those guys than players that seemingly you're going to have to kind of cater towards their needs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's literally you just saying that reminds me of I don't remember what stream it was, but yeah, like having to deal with players where you have to walk on eggshells around them, or you have to deal with you have to talk in a certain way, or they have to be treated in a certain way, or they feel entitled to something. It's just it's a horrible mentality I feel like to have, and if you're not someone who's willing to, you know, work hard, and just it's just a bunch of red flags when it comes to him right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be interesting to see how that solution or how that resolves itself. Does he just end up going top 3 anyway, or is he going to fall? It's gonna be pretty crazy to see, and I can't wait.
And just to be clear, it doesn't mean he can't still be a good player. He could still be really good.
Right.
And maybe it's just he's getting some bad info from his agent and stuff like that. I kind of, at least Sharp worked out for teams, but I did get kind of the same feeling from Shaden Sharp. Just like I felt like his agent didn't do a good job of preparing him to say the right things or to be the best. And then they started canceling workouts. Now, looking back, it was because he was going to go 7 to us, but it's still like, why wouldn't you want to go higher? Like I don't know. It just seems weird, but yeah, we're gonna find out in 1 week, I guess.
Yeah, we definitely are. And yeah, then I remember, like Kenny pointed out, he said, I love taking difficult shots, or
he said
he had a bunch of weird quotes. I can't even remember. You probably were about to say.
he said he's a good passer. He just likes to shoot more or something, or he just
Yeah.
like when it comes to it, taking a hard shot is better than passing sometimes, or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, dude.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
See, he's the type of guy who could go to like a really bad team and put up numbers, or you could go to a team like I said with Philadelphia, where if they're somewhat healthy, you're going to get a lot of catch and shoot opportunities. You don't have to necessarily force a bunch of shots. So is that him just like wanting to go to a team like New Orleans where Zion's going to be hurt and he can just take 20 shots a game? And like, I hate that mentality, man.
It does.
I hope it works out for him, but maybe he's going to fall all the way to 11.
That would be pretty interesting. Did you guys talked about that scenario, right?
Not really. I mean, maybe we joked about it, but like it's still I can't imagine a scenario where he falls to 11.
That would be wild.
Especially with New Orleans, like you said, trying to trade up, or the person in chat said trying to trade up.
Yeah.
It seems like 7 is his floor probably, but maybe it's a smoke screen from New Orleans too. Maybe they want someone else and they've have everyone convinced that they want Ace.
Maybe. Well, we can quickly touch on something else that did happen today, which was pretty interesting out of left field. The Los Angeles Lakers were majority stakes being sold by the Buss family to the owner of the Dodgers for $10 billion, which is not like it's crazy, but it's also not surprising to hear because obviously the Lakers are one of the biggest known franchises in the world. So I'm not like totally surprised that it's worth that much, but it's still weird to see that number so damn high. Cause
do you know how much the Commanders sold for?
It was like, wasn't it like 4 point or wasn't it 6? I can't remember now.
Somewhere between 4 and 6, yeah.
Yeah, it was like between 4 and 6. I don't know why I can't remember the number at the top of my head. I should know that, but it's escaping my mind right now. But yeah, so like that was like the last. It was one of the last high sales. It might have been someone who's beaten it since then, but
well, the Celtics just sold too for $6 million.
Yeah. So $10 billion is. I don't know if we're ever going to see a franchise reach that high. That's just because it's probably because of the Lakers. That's probably only why it's not worth that much.
Well, you got to think if the Yankees or Cowboys ever came up, true. Like they probably crushed 10 million. But it does seem weird that just a few months ago the Celtics only got 6-point-something million, and now here's the Lakers getting evaluated at 10 million. Also, I know Jeannie's going to continue running it for a while. She's going to be the governor still, but it's always weird when someone who's like very involved just gives up their team. Like even more so, I thought this about when Mark Cuban, because like it seemed like the Mavericks were like a huge part of his life, and then all of a sudden he's just like, I'm out.
Yeah, it was weird.
So this also seems very strange, but I don't know if you saw Magic Johnson's tweet, but he said he was all excited about this new owner, and I know the Laker fans have been worried about how many like outside influences have been getting their foot in the door. Kurt Rambis is one of them. Like, I don't know, they seem to think their franchise has been led astray by certain individuals in the head of Genie and the Busses, but that should all go away now. It does make you wonder how much the Blazers will get when they sell.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It definitely won't be 10 billion, that's for sure.
No, it will not.
Jody would be pretty happy about that, but
yeah. Well, she actually, I don't think Jody doesn't get any part of it. Yeah.
She doesn't even get anything now that I think about it. That's fun. Interesting. All right. Well, do you want to talk about the finals next, or do you want to talk about another rumor?
Let's talk about Kevin Durant for a
Oh
while.
yeah, Durant. Let's talk about some Durant stuff.
Yeah. So you mentioned teams going for it in the East earlier.
Yeah.
Toronto entering the fray, it seems so weird.
Right.
And also, they're not in the East, but Minnesota, it's been said that they had a deal, might have been a 3-team deal in place. But Kevin Durant is just flat out telling Minnesota he does not want to be there. Uh, Now, if that's Ujiri in Toronto, I think he just trades for him anyway and calls his bluff. Um, but it doesn't seem like Minnesota is going to be willing to do that for someone who doesn't want to be there. I think KD is coming up on his last year of his contract, so you risk him leaving after one season. Is that a risk you're willing to take if you're Minnesota? I don't know the answer to that, but man, it's I don't know what you do if you're Minnesota. If you have a trade in place but Katie's saying no, like we talked about headaches with Ace Bailey and stuff, red flags. Kevin Durant's a guy. If he doesn't want to be on your team, I don't think I want to trade for him because, I mean, just look at how much he's moved around since he left OKC. Always seemingly wanting to go to a different situation, and now Phoenix was his number one choice, and he had to be in Phoenix, and somehow he ends up getting to Phoenix, getting his wish, and that still is not good enough. A year and a half later or whatever. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess I can see it if he wants to be there, but I'm not taking that chance if I'm like a Minnesota or Toronto. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so the rumored packages on the table, apparently, if this is true, I think Gambo has maybe said some stuff about this too. So, like, if this is true, apparently the Suns right now from the Raptors, or maybe it's not on the table, but maybe this is what's been discussed. It was like one of Emmanuel Quickly or RJ Barrett, and then you get Jakob Pertl in that ninth pick. That's like close to what the Raptors are offering. And then Minnesota's offer was like Gobert, DiVincenzo, the 17th pick, and maybe even Dillingham or Terrence Shannon. Not both of them, but one of them.
Yeah.
If I did a video, funny enough, about the Minnesota package today because I was like, that's a pretty good return, I would think, for Durant if that's, kind of what. But, like, here's the thing. Is Phoenix trying to do right by him? Because, like, everyone's making it sound like Minnesota has that offer on the table right now, and the Suns are just, like, not accepting it. And I'm just surprised. Like, if I'm the Suns, I think I would jump on that just because that's pretty good value, I would say, for Durant. I mean, you're getting... If that's like the best trade, I mean, unless if they think they're going to get something better than that, which maybe something does happen. As far as like Minnesota or Toronto, like obviously Jerry did it for Kawhi Leonard, but I can't convince myself that the Raptors are KD away from winning a championship.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure I love
Not
that
at
for
all.
Toronto. Minnesota, I can somewhat get behind it because I mean, I just for whatever reason think Edwards could convince KD to stay if he played with him all season. Like, I think those two would get along extremely well, obviously. But maybe that doesn't matter, and obviously he would leave anyway. We haven't seen Durant traded somewhere where he doesn't want to be, so it would be interesting to see what he would do in that situation. Obviously, we've seen him go to where he's wanted to go. Went to the Warriors through free agency, got traded to, he went to Brooklyn in free agency, and then, it ended up being a sign and trade for D'Lo, but and then he went to obviously the Suns. So if he got traded to one of these franchises, as Toronto or Minnesota, does he play the one season and just leave, or does he just like complain like maybe Harden did one time? I don't know if he would do that. I can't see that happening, but yeah, I don't know. It's if I'm the Suns, I think I would have taken that Minnesota offer already, and I wouldn't care. Like, if they're really trying to do right by KD, which I don't know if that is the case, but I would not be doing that if I'm Phoenix. I would just be taking the best offer because what did Durant really do for you? Like, yes, he did, he wanted to come to your team, but they didn't even win a single playoff game with him. Like, I don't think so. Like, it's just, I think you take the Minnesota offer and run and say, Katie, we don't care what you think. If that offer's on the table, you got to take it, man, and you just got to run with it. And I'm surprised that if that is offers on the table, why haven't the Suns taken that yet?
Well, I think what happened was they agreed on the terms of the trade, and then Minnesota talked to KD, and KD's like, "No, I don't want to be there." And then they were like,
Yeah.
"Well, then we're not doing the trade." Then I can't imagine that's Phoenix saying, "Oh, no, KD doesn't want to be there." So it's like, what do they care once they get their stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I mean, technically, I guess they could fail his physical, but if he just refuses to report there or something, then they can't really claim that, especially if KD says, I told them that before they traded for me that I wasn't going to show up. So I don't think they would have grounds to like veto the trade or anything. So you have to think that they would have traded for him already if KD was like, fine, I'll play for Minnesota for a year or something.
Yeah, I've always thought Rockets made the most sense for him. He could be reunited with Ime Udoka. The Rockets are in like a path to trying to win. They have some young players they could consolidate. I've always thought that Rockets would make sense for him. It just there's been a lot of weird reports though where I've seen like the Suns, or the best young player that the Rockets could get or that the Suns could get is probably Jabari Smith. But then I've seen that the Suns are refusing to offer Jabari Smith. Or the Suns don't want Jalen Green. He'd have to be rerouted to a third team, which that would make sense because obviously Devin Booker's there, and I'm not really sure those two would be the greatest fits of the world. So that I can believe. And then Miami is also a factor in this, but I haven't heard much about them obviously since that first post got released by Shams, like that, where his top three teams were Miami, and then San Antonio, and then the other one. In the Rockets, I think is what it was. So Miami, I don't know if I would love him. Like, it seems he wants to go there, but I don't know if I love that situation for him either. What does that really turn into? Does Durant,
like, why does he want to go over there instead of Minnesota? I mean, I know why, but like, why? Like, basketball wise only, it makes no sense why you would choose the Miami situation over Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't get that either because I don't really know if that team can. That team to me isn't contending. We just lost Eric as I'm speaking, but I don't think Miami is the greatest spot for him. I think truly basketball wise, Minnesota is absolutely the best spot for him. I think him and Edwards would be a ton of fun. But I could totally understand why he would want to be maybe in the East. Maybe that'd be easier for him, obviously, but I don't know. I'm not sure. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how the situation resolves itself. I'm sure we'll find out by the draft. I think he'll be traded before the draft if I had to guess. It'd be very interesting to see him on the team after the draft. I mean, it seems like everything that has been said is that it will happen before the draft. So we're maybe less than a week away from a Kevin Durant trade. So,
and I actually think the Toronto offer, like if they give up the 9th pick, Pirtle, I think is a really good center option. I think he would fit in well with Booker in Phoenix. And then if you get one of Quickly Quickly could be their answer at point guard. He's not like the most ball dominant point guard. So I think Booker would still get his fair share of the ball. And then, I mean, I don't think Barrett's the greatest off-ball option, and we'll talk more about him in a second when we get to the Blazers part of that rumor. But, I mean, I don't know. I think and then you got the 9th pick to add a player there. So, I don't know. I would strongly consider taking that if that was on the table too.
Yeah, that's now that you've talked me through that one was pretty good too. I could see that Pirtle Quickly, and then the 9th pick wherever you get there. That could be.
I mean, they've needed a point guard since they traded Paul, and then they've needed a center since the last couple of years of Ayton being there, and they obviously weren't happy with him. So I think that solves a couple of their problems. I mean, I don't think it makes them better than what they should have been with Kevin Durant,
right.
But I think it does balance out their roster a little better and gives them a chance of still kind of competing for the playoffs, instead of completely bottoming them out without owning any of your future picks, which I think they don't want to do. So,
That's
and then hit on the ninth pick, and then you're set there.
That's the thing I've been wondering, like, how patient is Devin Booker really going to be? It seems like he wants to stay, but if this team struggles at all next year, and then maybe the year after that, is Booker going to continue to want to stay there? Because I think regardless of what they do in this Durant situation, I don't know if they're turning this team into a contender ever again. With Booker.
Yeah.
They have just shipped that, or they have shipped, that sale has shipped so far. It feels like, because obviously when going in all of Durant made sense. They screwed it up when they did the Beal thing. We've talked about that plenty of times, and they're still struggling to get rid of him. And Centell's had some funny posts about Bradley Beal. That situation is never going to resolve itself. It feels like they're going to be stuck with him for 2 more years, unless they're just some miracle avenue. I've heard potential biggest buyout situation. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how patient Booker is with this approach. I think he's there next year, but it'll be interesting to kind of see as a team. Like, they could be in the playoffs next year. I will not rule that idea out. But as far as being a contender next year, I don't see that even being remotely close to a situation they can find themselves in.
While you're talking, it kind of led me to thinking about, like, just a general basketball thing that kind of drives me crazy. And it's that these guys who form these teams or want to get their buddies together to play on teams, and I'm not saying that Booker did this necessarily, but, KD goes to Phoenix, and then they're not as good as they thought they were going to be, and now he wants out again. It's like, you're the one who went there. You're the one who they had to give up all the assets for. Like, you could play better. Like, so that kind of drives me crazy that these guys just are like blowing up a team, a franchise, like completely ruins their future. And then they're just like, nah, I don't really want to be here anymore after a season and a half. And then, so if Booker truly does want to stay and he recognizes that they tried to go for it with him and that they can, maybe reload with KD's assets in that trade and be able to maybe open up another window that's more on his timeline, because KD doesn't fit with the timeline that much. So you have to wonder if, like, some people are just like aware enough to recognize that the team is trying to build around you. It's not like they wanted to suck the last couple of years and not go on a deep playoff run. They literally tried to put 2 really good players around him. So it's tough because, I mean, I want to say, like, who cares? It's the Suns, but, like, I do kind of feel for Booker a little bit, and I do applaud him if he stays in that situation. And even if it's another rebuild for a couple of years. But much like the Clippers with Ballmer, it just feels like, I don't know, I just have a hard time thinking that, like, the Suns are going to completely bottom out anytime soon and just try to rebuild. 1, because they don't own any of their picks, but, like, 2, it just doesn't seem like, even if they take a step back from going super crazy like they did, they're still going to be in a situation where they're trying to win, I think, just like the Clippers. So I can't see them just, like, trading everybody and doing what the Nets did even and trying to get their picks back.
You're saying Ballmer reminded me of the report where HBO will be more involved than he already was.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like, that report was so stupid.
I was like, how's that possible?
Yeah, I have no idea. I will say, in KD's defense this time, it was painted that the Suns were trying to trade him without him saying anything at the deadline. So maybe this time it's not totally his fault, but who's to say that he still wouldn't have thought, like, yeah, like, I agree with you. And, like, that who's to say he'd probably still would have wanted out based off missing the playoffs and stuff. Like, I can't imagine, like, even if they didn't try to trade him at the deadline and they missed the playoffs entirely, that he's like cool with staying on the last year of his contract. Like, I still think there would have been a discussion there regardless of how it's painted, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I mean, there's conflicting reports that KD was okay with being traded, and
Yeah.
but he just didn't. I guess the Suns did have a trade pretty much agreed upon with
Oh yeah, the
the Golden
Warriors.
State
I forgot about
Warriors,
that.
and Durant wants no part of playing with Draymond Green again. So he just basically was like, "Nope, sorry, I don't want to play there anymore."
Maybe the Suns do value his opinion a lot, and they won't trade him where Katie doesn't want to go. I don't know. Maybe he has that type
Maybe.
of power on Ishbia.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see how that resolves itself. My prediction is that he ends up in Houston. That's just my bold prediction. It's
It
not bold, but it's my prediction.
it is weird that like it was like about a week or so ago, it was like the Spurs were the heavy favorites, and then all of a sudden Toronto became the heavy favorites out of nowhere. And then I think it was back to the Spurs for a day or two, and now it's like the Heat and the Rockets are kind of even with, and I guess the Spurs aren't out of it, but I don't know. It seems like a weird move for the Spurs with their
Yeah.
situation. If they're going to give up a bunch of assets, it seems like it should be for someone who is a little younger. But man, if Miami does pull it off, that's weird too. Like, I don't think that team's going anywhere. I
I
mean,
don't either.
so I don't know, man.
And
But
Andrew
like you
Wiggins is
said,
the best player they're probably getting back in that trade too. If you're Phoenix,
right?
I don't. That seems like a lose lose. I
Mm.
don't like that for either team. Man.
So speaking of draft or betting odds, and someone we already mentioned, RJ Barrett. It came out yesterday that the Portland Trailblazers are the betting favorite to
I
land
saw
RJ
that.
Barrett. Is that just like a like we're gonna like if Kevin Durant goes to Toronto, they think that they're gonna Phoenix won't want Barrett, so they're gonna load him on another team, and then pieces will go to Phoenix from us, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. That is a good question. Sportsbooks seem to know things, obviously, so I don't know what they're basing this off of. But yeah, if Katie was headed to Toronto, would RJ Barrett get rerouted to us somehow? What, are we gonna give them Robert Williams and Matisse Thybulle for RJ or something? Or is it,
The 11th pick too, maybe.
dude, the 11th pick for RJ Barrett feels disgusting though. I'm not sure I would love that. That's a little too much of a. I don't know, man. I like the idea of RJ Barrett, but it's just not on this team necessarily. I don't even know where he'd play. I'm not sure I'm in love with that idea.
It feels like we have a better version of Denny already.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's not the greatest spot up shooter. Like, he can handle the ball, he can score a little bit. He's not a terrible defender, but like, I don't know. It just seems like we have those guys. We need the guys who can shoot the ball, right? So I hate the idea, if no matter who it is, of adding players that are mid shooters or whatever. Like, I want good shooters if we're going to add players to this roster. I don't feel like Barrett fits really. I don't see the offense not being clunky with him and
Right.
Denny and Tamani and Scoot. And if Simons is part of that deal or whatever, then we wouldn't have that shooting either. So I don't know. It just seems kind of weird.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm not sold on that idea. I don't see that happening, and it's still weird to think even try to comprehend what the Blazers might do this offseason. It's making me
Yeah.
nervous as the days go by. Like, is there going to be any weird trades we make? Is Anthony going to be extended, or what's going to happen? Is it's going to be It's gonna be interesting, man. And RJ to Portland is not something that would make a ton of sense to me. Um, like the idea of it, like, oh, former third overall pick, right? Like player that kind of fits the timeline in a way. Like the idea sounds cool, but the actual player doesn't fit exactly what we're looking for. So I'm not sold on it. I hope that doesn't happen, honestly.
That's such a, I could see it though. It's such a Blazer thing to say, right? Oh, former
Former
third
third
overall.
overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Look
what
at
I'm
the
saying.
value we got.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
We're
the
pairing it with
idea of
another
it.
third overall pick. They're going to
Yeah. We have a
break out together.
we have a former number one overall pick and former third overall pick. We're building something special here in Portland right now. Um, I don't know. It's making me nervous, but I can see that happening, honestly. Man.
Yeah. I mean, RJ's a good guy, and like, I don't know. I don't think he's like a horrible player or anything. Like you keep mentioning it, just fit wise. I don't think it's the best mix of what we need. And I think Portland did a good job last offseason of addressing their needs with Klingon and rim protection and Denny and his, perimeter defense and stuff like that. It really solidified our defense as the season went on, and those guys got used to playing together. So they recognized the need and addressed it. And much like we were talking about with Orlando, addressing a need and going out and getting it, it just, to me, knowing you need shooting and to improve your offense, to go out and get Barrett right now would just seem like a weird use of whatever assets you had to trade.
I do like this question in chat. What are your guys' thoughts if Portland wanted to go after Jaren Jackson Jr.? He'd probably cost a lot to get, honestly, because his contract is so good right now. And if the Grizzlies made him available, he would go for a ton, I think, because you'd get the bird rights to him. You'd be able to re-sign him to, whatever number. But he's the type of player that a lot of teams would value. So, while, yes.
I mean, if Bane got 4 firsts and a swap, I can't imagine what.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson is going to, even on an expiring contract, he's going to go for a ton, I think, still. I don't see that. I don't see us being in the market. I don't see us being able to grab him, honestly.
I wouldn't call myself a Jaren Jackson Jr. hater, but recognizing he's an awesome defensive player, and that would go really well with what we need on the defensive end. His shot mechanics and his offense kind of bug me at times. I don't think he's the greatest rebounder.
Yeah, I was saying his rebounding is horrible too.
So like, I don't know. Part of me, like, I mean, obviously, if we made a huge move like that, it would be exciting and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I would be mad about it or anything, but part of me would be like, oh man, it kind of like strengthens our strengths and like maximizes our weaknesses even more, in my opinion. So, but yeah, defensively, I could definitely see, as Kenny D says, put him next to Klingon. But Klingon probably have to be in that trade. We're probably losing multiple young guys in that trade.
Yeah, but thinking about it, like, I don't know who'd be the point guard, but you could have a lineup of Tamani, Denny, Jaren Jackson, Klingon. That would be pretty disgusting defensively.
Yeah, dude,
that would be awesome. And then maybe it's still Scoot at point guard. That does sound kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, you could get away with a terrible defender like. I'm not saying Anthony, but someone like that on defense, you could get away with it with those other 4. Like,
yeah, because like, what if it was like hypothetically if it was like Sharp in the offer and whatever salary? Because like I said, Jaren Jackson's not making a ton right now. He's on a beautiful. It's only 1 year left on his contract, but he's on a beautiful deal. He's only making like $23 million or something. So like he'd be easy to match. For a lot of teams, but he will need to be extended, and that's going to cost a lot once that's going to be talked about. But
yeah,
Yeah, but right
And
now
then
the
also,
Grizzlies say they're not
yeah, I was just gonna say that.
rebuilding at the moment as well.
Yeah, they said they traded Bane, and obviously that was an offer they couldn't refuse. But I think that does give them assets to retool around those two. I don't know if I would if I was in their situation, but um, because I don't know if they want to pay Jaw. His next deal is gonna towards the end of it, he's going to be making like 80-90 million dollars a year, and that's kind of scary money for someone who hasn't been um, necessarily the most dedicated to basketball lately.
Yeah, if I was the Grizzlies, I'd be rebuilding, honestly. I mean, the return you just got for Desmond Bane puts you in such a good position. You have some young, fun players in like Jalen Wells. Aldama is a free agent, obviously. Scottie Pippen is interesting. Um, but yeah, if I'm the Grizzlies, now John Morant may not go for a ton because of the red flags that come with them. The injury history is kind of stacking up. And then obviously we all know the off-court things that have happened. But yeah, so John Morant, if I were them, I would be rebuilding, but they don't seem to think that way. I still think it's a possibility that's just GM talk, though, and there is still a crazy scenario where the Grizzlies do, in fact, trade Jaren Jackson, John Morant. I think that'd be the better route to go for them, honestly, because I think we've seen the ceiling of that team. And John Morant, the team is just, I mean, John Morant, he says this famous quotes, we're fine, I'm fine in the West. And then he has the audacity to say that he had the Thunder figure it out if he didn't get hurt. Like, I think if I'm the Grizzlies, I'd be moving on because I still think you would get a ton for both those guys, and you'd be in such a great start to rebuilding. But
Jaren's only 25. They could rebuild by trading Jaw, keep
they could do
Jaren.
that too, yeah.
But
Yeah,
maybe they see how little they would get for Jaw, and it's not worth trading him. Maybe
that's a
they're
good
keeping
point
him.
too. That's a good point too. If they're not getting a ton isn't even worth trading him because he has like 2 to 3 years left on his contract anyway. So like you still have time to build with him. He's a great player. Just obviously has his red flags as well.
Maybe the Blazers should go after both of them.
Imagine we find a way to. That'd be wild. That'd be the craziest thing ever. Honestly, would be wild though. All right. Is there any other rumors to talk about that you have at the top of your head?
Patel says that we should get LaMelo.
No. He's got
no
ankle problems like crazy too.
There was a rumor about Utah and San Antonio talking about a marketing trade, in which the Spurs would trade back. And there was also some rumors that they weren't necessarily set on Harper at 2, but I think that's all stupid.
Yeah, San Antonio is going to be very interesting to see what they do with having all 3 of those guards if they do in fact take Dylan Harper, which you think they would. And then Utah has been in the talks of trading up, so it'll be interesting to see if they pull something off. I feel like we haven't seen like a crazy trade up scenario in like the top 5 since the Markelle Fultz swap thing. Is that the last time that a top 5 pick's been traded away? Or has it been earlier than that? It's been so long, I feel like, since... Like, I know we've had some trade downs late in the lottery.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything in the top 5 in years.
Yeah, because a couple years ago, Washington moved up to get Koulibaly. That was 7, right?
Something like that.
So not top 5. Yeah, it might be. That was what the 2017 draft. Well, there was the. I think this is the year after. There was the Luka Trae Young.
Oh yeah,
that was too. 3 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I'm trying to remember one since then.
Yeah, I usually don't expect any of those rumors to materialize. It seems like just to players will be drafted, and that's usually the right, especially in this CBA. But if Shams is correct, maybe we got ourselves a crazy draft night coming. We'll see, though.
And as people mentioned in chat, so there were multiple centers mentioned in this tweet, but it was mentioned that Robert Williams was a potential target at center for the Lakers. They only have pick 55 in this draft, and can't trade I can't see they're not giving up their one first they can trade for Robert Williams. So I don't know what you'd want from them for that. I mean, maybe if you just want a shooter, some sort of Dalton Connect, I think they might have to include someone else, but
right,
like a Dalton Connect type trade. But I don't know. I don't
would
know.
they really include Connect in a trade like that, though? I don't know if I could see them doing that.
I mean,
maybe they just don't value him, though. Maybe they would.
Yeah, Connect's weird because there were times last year when it seemed like he was going to be a big part of their rotation and stuff, and then there was other times where his defense basically made him unplayable. And but you know, if you're the Blazers, getting rid of someone who doesn't really play for just a pure shooter, even if he doesn't play a ton, if you just use him as a shooter off the bench, I think. Yeah, as Miles Martin does point out, he was part of the Mark Williams trade, and then we had to go back to the Lakers, and then it was all weird after that. So
that is true.
Yeah. So maybe that would happen. And then apparently the Sixers are now wanting to go back, just run it back another year and give Paul George and Embiid a chance to be healthy, which is crazy, but I don't think that's going to happen.
It's probably the right approach, though, because even if they did try to trade Embiid right now, they ain't getting nothing for him. And obviously Paul George ain't worth nothing right now either, so I don't even think they really have a choice in the matter.
Yeah. YYC says PG to the Jazz isn't a thing. Yeah, Brady mentioned that earlier in the show. I don't know if Utah does that. I mean, maybe if there's someone like a VJ Edgecombe that they don't think would be there at 5 and they're in love with, maybe they pull the trigger on it just to get him. But that's a ton of salary to take on just to move up 2 spots or whatever. So I don't know if any team's going to be willing to do that. And there's not a lot of like bad contracts. Like in the past, you'd be like, oh, well, there's this like Ben Simmons on Brooklyn. Like maybe you can just swipe out bad contracts for another bad contract or something. But there's not many teams that have like a $40 or $50 million bad contract right now.
They could swap Markkanen's contract with Paul George's, I guess. No, just kidding. Yeah, no, I
mean, Markkanen would be pretty good for the Sixers, I think, but
yeah, but they're not doing that.
Right. And then trying to see if there's anything else we missed. Oh, there's a rumor that the Bucks could go after D'Angelo Russell this offseason. What do you think of D'Lo, Kuzma, and Giannis running it this year with Dame out?
D'Lo and Kuzma as your best players next to Giannis sounds like a freaking nightmare.
I know, it sounds so bad.
But D'Lo,
that'd be funny.
I don't think D'Lo. Yeah, I have to assume D'Lo's market isn't going to be crazy, so I do think he'd probably be in the Bucks price range, and D'Lo could probably see that he would have a clear path to starting there. So that would not shock me at all if that is a target for the Bucks and that ends up materializing. Especially since the Giannis thing seems like it's dead. Like, it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. So, unless it comes out of nowhere, but it seems as of right now, Giannis has basically put all that to rest and saying he's staying. So,
or if you're our guy Alex Wolf and get ball sacked by Logion Hoops instead of Legion Hoops, and
gosh,
Sharms Charania. I saw him retweeting something that said that the the Spurs were going to offer 4 to 8 first or something for the Bucks, but
Oh
it was
my.
not. It was like some stupid fake tweet, and
That's
he
great.
fell for it. But
All
yeah, I
right.
think yeah,
That's all rumors.
yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless we'll give Chad a minute or two to if we missed anything or if you have any questions. Tristan asked, "Does Dame have a shot at coming back at the end of the year?" I would never say no. Like he could possibly come back towards the end of the year. It's just most of the time with Achilles, uh, especially with how it was in the playoffs and not like middle of the season or something. Like, uh, I find it hard to believe he'd be back next year at all, or they'd risk him playing or anything like that. So I think it would be shocking if he did play, but I mean, it's Dame. I wouldn't say he's. I'm sure Dame in his mind thinks he's going to come back and
Yeah.
help them at some point in the season. But yeah,
Maybe he had the Aaron Rodgers approach where Rodgers, when he tore his Achilles, acted like he was going to play pretty
yeah,
quickly, but it didn't end up happening because there was
but
no
yeah, he
point of
did
him going out there.
seem like it was all talk.
Yeah, so who knows? Are Zion rumors to Portland closed? I haven't heard anything about Zion lately other than the negative thing that came out about him, so I'm not sure when
Yeah,
it comes to rumors about him.
I don't think there's. I mean, there might be a team that would take him for very little.
Right.
There's probably multiple teams, but I don't think it makes sense for New Orleans to just trade him for nothing or very little either. They're probably better off just um, getting out of his contract after next season like they could and moving on rather than accepting a really weak package.
And then Denny has been in a lot of rumors. Would you take a Bane package for him, or is he completely off limits? I know you guys literally talked about this. You asked Tori this, and he said basically you have to consider it, but he said
Yeah.
no. And I agree. Like you'd have to definitely consider it. But man, would it suck to not, at least see out what happens with Denny Avdia, what he becomes for us.
Mm-hmm.
It would suck to give up on that so quickly because we kind of saw what it could be. We saw flashes of it, and I want to see more of it to see if it could become something consistent for him. So while yes, if you were offered that, it would be crazy to turn that down. But man, I kind of hope they're not offered that. That way we don't even have to consider that because I want to
Yeah.
see him play another year here at least. I want to see him play beyond that, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
it would suck to lose him after the first season that we just had him.
Yeah, he still has 3 more years on that ridiculously good contract. It's like
Yeah,
only 12 million or so a year. Like, um, he's definitely going to be coveted. I'm of the opinion I don't think there's anyone on the Blazers roster you could potentially be like, nah, we're good
right.
to 4 picks and a swap. But when you start to think about some of those picks, like what happens if they're all like in the 20s and then you didn't really get that much for him. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be fine either way. If the Blazers turn that down, I would be fine. Like, even though that would be a huge asset pool, I don't. I just don't see the upside of trading Denny right now when he's on the upswing. Like I said, he's on a great contract. Um, good team guy. Like, I don't know.
It would also go against everything that they said in their end of the season presser about wanting to make the
Right.
playoffs. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't see that being something that happens. That would push us further away from being in the playoffs. We would be back in just, no, while it's not necessarily a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but we'd be rebuilding for sure. Like this is basically still rebuild, but they keep talking about playoffs, so we wouldn't be close to that anymore if we did something like that. Thoughts about radio hosts saying Blazers don't and won't attach picks to get rid of Jeremy Grant's contract. I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
I mean, I've been saying that. I don't think they want to or think it's bad enough yet to where they have to do that. I think, Jeremy is a guy who's not, it's not like he's a malcontent or something or locker room cancer or something. Um, Now, I mean, you can question, I guess, whether he'll accept a greatly reduced role next year, especially if he doesn't have a bounce back shooting wise, or like gives more efforts on the rebounds or anything like that. But yeah, I've actually heard that they've been offered some players that they don't like for him. They could probably get out of that contract without giving a pick, but it was all players that didn't have the greatest contracts either. Now, if you could reduce the size of the contracts by getting multiple people on lesser good contracts, that person said that he also thought Jeremy would still start. I mean, would I be surprised if Jeremy's still the starting forward on this team next year because of Chauncey or whatever? No.
Don't shock me either.
I don't know if they have the guts to like tell him he's gonna come off the bench. And I don't know what that means. Who doesn't start? Someone very deserving isn't going to. And I mean, most people argue someone's already not going to if they keep Simon. So if you have Grant too in that equation, and then you have Ayton starting as well, because according to Chauncey, he's already penciled in as the starter. So if you have Simons, Grant, and Ayton all starting next year, I can't imagine even the biggest cronies. I can't imagine they'd be happy with that outcome, right?
They'll find a way.
Man, that'd be crazy.
That would be. It's all going to depend on how the roster shakes out this offseason, though. Yep. I guess if we'll see.
But I think with the Blazers, I have to imagine this happened. A couple times under Cronin now, where the big trade is announced within basically 24 hours of the draft. A few years ago, it was Jeremy the day before the draft. And then last year, it was obviously about an hour or so before the draft, maybe 2 hours before the draft, something like that. Right as we were about to go live to start our draft coverage was the tweet that we had traded for Denny. So the big moves have been at the draft or right before the draft. So in the next week, we should find out whether Cronin has that one lined up already, like he was kind of led to insinuate at his trade deadline press conference. But yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming we won't have a show next week because of the draft.
Oh, yeah, it'll probably be really hard to pull something off there.
So I don't know if we'll do it another night or we'll just be back in 2 weeks. But the next time we have a show, we should have a ton of movement to talk about. We're going to have a bunch of crazy stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I guess we should wrap up with the NBA Finals talk a little bit here before we head out of here. Obviously, the Thunder have a chance to win their first championship in OKC history if they're able to go to Indiana and win. The Pacers currently have Halliburton listed as questionable with the right calf strain. I think everybody, should believe that he is going to play. The Thunder take the series has been a ton of fun. It's been one of the best finals we've seen lately. But Game 5 I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just have a gut feeling that the Thunder just have this in the bag already. And I'm counting the Pacers out, which maybe I shouldn't be, but that's how I'm currently feeling right now. Now, will the Thunder win Game 6, or is this going to Game 7? My gut is telling me the Thunder are going to win this tomorrow. But I'm hoping that the Pacers push this to 7 because that would be a ton of fun.
Yeah, obviously, I hope that too. And I said this the other day, but the atmosphere in OKC for a Game 7 would be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's already been pretty crazy, so that would just be really cool game and atmosphere. But man, you can't really play on a bad calf, so I don't know if he'll try. Like he says, if he can walk, he'll play or whatever. But last game almost seemed like it would have been better off if he didn't play.
Right.
But if he doesn't, he's obviously not healthy. I can't see the Pacers really having that good of a chance without him like having a good game, as evident in the last 2 games.
I just read your comment in chat. Can you imagine the Blazers declined to let them talk to Johnson?
Yeah, someone said, why can't the Knicks request an interview for Johnson?
I laughed at that earlier. That's funny.
If it came out that the Blazers declined to let him talk, that would be...
Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, they probably would. Yeah, I don't think they would let him talk.
They're like, we don't want to hire anybody else.
They didn't let the Suns last year.
Yeah, we don't want to hire anybody else. No, you're not talking to him.
Yeah.
We have our, employee spot filled, so.
But anyways, yeah, I think OKC wins tomorrow night, and just season will be officially over.
If the Pacers win, I'm going to Game 7. I'm just kidding. You know how much of a ticket that would probably cost?
Well, you're better off going to Game 6 because tickets drop from like 700 and something for the cheapest down to like 300 and something when they lost Game 6 in Halliburton.
Yeah, it's just OKC is like a 2.5 hour drive from me, while Indiana would be. I don't even know how far Indiana is from me. But yeah, OKC's atmosphere is always awesome. I've had the pleasure to have experienced it like probably. I think I've been like 5+ times before. It's been
nice.
It's been
how long of a drive did you say it was?
It's like 2.5 hours away from me.
The arena
is. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's crazy. I sometimes forget how close some of those places in the Midwest are.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, for here, it's like, well, it depends on traffic, but like a 3 to 4 hour drive up to Seattle.
Right.
That was the closest. It's like a 10-hour drive, I think, to San Francisco, which is the next closest.
Wow, that's crazy. I say gamble it and buy Game 7 tickets now. I don't actually have the money for that.
Well,
I was completely.
It's not a gamble because
you just get refunded.
You get refunded if it doesn't happen. Yeah, but all those tickets have already been sold, so you have to buy them on the resale market, which is not cheap.
Yeah, no, not at all. All right.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Brady talked about several videos in this show. Go check out his channel and watch all those after this. Tori and I will be on tomorrow night to talk about anything that happens or rumored tomorrow. And then, I know I didn't want to get into this too much because Brady, you don't like to talk about specific scouting and stuff like that. But Tori and I will dive more into like prospects and stuff tomorrow night as well. So join us there. And then, like I said, go watch all Crushable's recent rebuilds.
Yeah, that's it. Appreciate you guys for being here. It was a fun fun live stream tonight. And I can't wait for the next time we speak because there will be a ton to talk about for sure. We have to imagine a lot of movement will happen the next time we talk. So, all right, guys, we'll see y'all in the next live. Like Eric said, Tori and him will be live tomorrow, so make sure to check them out. On that, guys, this is HoopsCrush. Peace out. Go Blazers.